Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for our daily press review, and we're delighted to be joined here today by Dr. Mervat Madkour, Professor of Political Economy of the Middle East Research and Development. Good morning, Dr. Mervat.
Good morning to you, Naveen.
And the papers published today focused on a number of issues, topping the list of which is the expected visit by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to Portugal today on Sunday, actually. We start off by Al-Ahram and we read its main banner, widening the scope of social protection programs and nets. The president says overcoming all obstacles before investors and compromises for the stances of the factories. President el-Sisi presides over an extended meeting with Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, Governor of the Central Bank Tariq Amer, the Ministers of Defense, Foreign Affairs, Interior and Finance, as well as the head of the Administrative Control Authority. Presidential spokesman Ala Youssef says the president had received reports of the latest economic decisions and reviewed the monetary policies adopted by the government recently, as well as procedures taken to ease the repercussions of the decision on low-income people. And still with the same issue from Al-Akhbar front page, we read, in a meeting with the Prime Minister, the Central Governor, 4 ministers and head of Administrative Control Authority, the President says widening the scope of the social protection programs to contain the results of the recent economic decisions on the low-income brackets. Dr. Mervat, how do you see the significance of the recent economic and decisions and monetary policies adopted by the Egyptian government and its impact on low-income brackets in particular?
Look, Naveen, I've always said we don't really tackle the problems until they happen. We don't have a preemptive idea of what to do exactly, except when it happens. It's only the president who is always thinking of the low-income brackets because he knows these are the ones that really needs to be taken care of. You cannot go on and do economic decisions without having or without putting into your consideration as a leader, okay? And that's what he did. And he has been, even when he addressed in the inauguration of the parliament, he addressed the parliament to take care of those income brackets.
Yes.
But the problem is that the ministry is in a valley, if you may call it, and the president is in another totally different valley, which is really disastrous at this moment of time. And you've seen why did he form this economic council or the investment council? Because he's seeing that nothing really gets done and everybody is scared of taking decisions or of signing something.
Right, but how positive do you think are the economic policies adopted by the government?
The problem is
on investment. I mean, how far is it positive on investment?
I'll tell you one thing. First of all, as I always say, I'm against loans from
IMF or what?
And the IMF or the International it is the International Monetary Fund. Why? Because they impose this structural adjustment programs. Through one of the major recommendations that they said is to realize social justice. But the program itself does not enhances, it doesn't enhance social justice, okay? So the problem is that if we really want to have independence, if we really want, there were other ways of getting out of the problem. The handling of the lack of hard currency was going, it had no other way to do it except to borrow, really, okay? So you had so many circumstances really working to get Egypt down with regard to the hard currency, okay?
Yes, and
there was no income from the Suez Canal, there was no income from people working abroad, and tourism certainly Okay, so in fact, as if the whole thing conspired against us. So maybe, I believe,
we're looking for a better tourism season.
not just tourism, Naveen. What really would make a difference to Egypt is the discovery of oil in the Western Desert and the discovery of gas in the Mediterranean Sea. I believe that this would really contribute to a leap into our economy. And then we could pay whatever we took from the International Monetary Fund and go on what we have. Okay, because Egypt is full of potentials.
Actually, potentials and resources.
Definitely.
Right, and from Al Akhbar, we read one of its main banners: the president commences a visit to Portugal as part of a tour that would also include Equatorial Guinea. El-Sisi says Trump shall be more powerful and more involved in the causes of the region. President El-Sisi arrives in Portugal today in the first such visit by an Egyptian president in 24 hours. Summit talks on Monday with de Souza to enhance ties in the political, economic, and combating terrorism fields. In statements to the Portuguese news agency, El-Sisi says Trump shall be more powerful and involved in the causes of the Middle East region. Still with the same issue, from El Masri Al-Yom front page, we read President El-Sisi to a Portuguese newspaper: Trump shall be more powerful regarding the causes of the region. The president arrives on Sunday and Guinea on Wednesday. The president's new tours begins in Portugal and ends in Guinea. 194 million euros, the size of trade exchange between Egypt and Portugal. And leathers and cotton top the list of the experts. And salt, electronics, and paper are the most important imports. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we go to this report and we'll be right back.
Egypt's Abdel Fattah el-Sisi praised U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and said he expected greater engagement in the Middle East from his administration. In an interview with the Portuguese media, President el-Sisi said that he personally respects and appreciates Trump. According to an English translation of his remarks to Portuguese news agency Lusa, published on Saturday, El-Sisi added that he believes that U.S. President-elect Trump will be more engaged with the issues of the Middle East region. The president noted that, as a matter of fact, President-elect Trump has shown deep and great understanding of what is taking place in the region as a whole and what is taking place in Egypt. The head of state said that is why he is looking forward and expecting more support and more reinforcement of bilateral relations. Trump's tough on terrorism rhetoric has appeal among Egyptian officials as the country faces a militant wave of attacks that has killed hundreds of policemen and soldiers. The attacks took off after Mohamed Morsi was deposed in 2013. El-Sisi, who had met Trump in September in New York, downplayed Trump's calls to ban Muslims entering the United States. He said they have got to draw a distinction between the rhetoric that takes place within presidential campaigns and the real and actual administration of a country after the inauguration of a president.
Welcome back, Dr. Mervat. How do you see the significance of President El-Sisi's visit to Portugal and, of course, the major points that will be discussed, including economic cooperation with Portugal?
You know, I find Portugal, like all the rest of Europe, very important to Egypt, okay? Because we have many ties, especially with the southern countries of Europe, like Spain, like Italy, like France, okay? Of course, Cyprus and Greece.
Greece.
But, you know, it's high time actually to raise the amount of trade that is going between Egypt and Portugal. We only have 149 million. It's not a big deal because Egypt's imports are 22 billion.
Right.
Okay, so it's just like a drop in an ocean. But you know, Portugal is quite important as it is, you know, having technological advancement, as it is really one of the countries that is fighting terrorism along with many southern states. And mind you, when you look at the map, you have Portugal and Spain, okay, on Gibraltar passage. So it might, if anything happens, God forbid, to Morocco or Algeria, it might lead to illegal migration, as is happening with regard to Libya. So holding economic ties, political ties, a common ground for fighting terrorism definitely is very important at this particular moment of time. And this shows as well the President's interest into developing our relations with countries that were forgotten, to be honest. Okay, we were always concentrating on of the world, and this is usually not so much paying, but to a country. Usually, the less significant countries, I don't mean Portugal in particular, but the more you have, or the more you increase your ties with other nations, it's certainly beneficial to both, and to both people of the two countries. And this is what we wish to happen.
Right. And from El Masri Al-Yom, page 8, we read some regional news. The churches chant. The Muslim calls for prayers at hand. The Knesset tackles preventing the mosques. Netanyahu's son insists on issuing the law. Muslims in Israel and the Gaza Strip demonstrated against a bill to limit the volume of calls to prayer at mosques in Israel. How do you see the situation now in Gaza and the Israelis'
I like
decisions?
very much this shows, we can overcome religious differences. Okay, it's only if we really do our best we can because look, if I say God is like this or God comes like that, at the end of the day we both know or recognize the existence of God. It doesn't matter the way.
Right.
And we cannot judge each other. It's only God who can judge us both. And religion has never been a hindrance, okay, and a hindrance in human relations. I don't ask you in the first place, what's your religion?
Definitely.
Okay? At least we will get to in a talk, and then I might ask you what's your name, not what's your religion.
Definitely.
Okay? So religion is only very personal. It's a private relationship between the individual and his God, whoever that God may be.
Sure.
Okay? Sure. And at the end of the day, if we all treat ourselves, if we meet the challenge for which this whole universe is, then we can be human beings, because this is the essence of being human.
Definitely.
Okay? And having, the call for prayers in the churches shows how much these people have lived or overcome this challenge for which we have all been created for.
Right. Dr. Mervat Madkour, Professor of Political Economy of the Middle East Research and Development. Always a pleasure having you with us.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Nadine.
Thank you. And dear viewers, now we go for a short break and we'll be back to resume the rest of the segments of the breakfast show.